Good evening, everyone. You're in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Tuesday, October the 10th, 2017. Good to have you all here for our first of two shows this week. Apologize for the late start. First of all, I'm going to apologize for something else right away, too. I am not particularly feeling well tonight. I even thought about maybe canceling tonight because I really just, it's one of those days where you don't, you feel pretty crappy and you don't know why. Like you're kind of like, am I coming down with something? Is it allergies? Is it what is it? Like what exactly is going on with my body or what's going on? So with me, it's hard. You never know. It could be something that, with me, I could feel crappy for 3 or 4 days and be just fine. Nothing ever comes of it. And then sometimes something does come of it. And then it becomes this big old thing. But yeah, so it's one of those things where I felt fine for most of the day, and then about halfway through the day it started to become an issue for me. So if my voice trails off, if I start to have issues or something, just please bear with me. It's not my night, so just kind of bear with me here tonight as I try to fight through whatever is going on with me. So yeah, so I just want to make sure I point out, and again, sorry for the late start. Just got kind of held up, had a situation, and didn't want to it's one of those things where I was needed and I didn't want to bail on somebody. So, so just be aware of that. I don't want to get into it. It's not something for the air, but, but still, I just want to point that out. So, all right, so here we are, our first of two shows this week. This is our anniversary week. So 7 years that we've been on the air. And it's also a big week for us because in a lot of ways, it's a transitional week. Now, we're not going to do much of that addressing of that tonight. I said that we'd get into some things this week, kind of set the stage for what's to come over the next couple of weeks, and we will do that, but we won't do that tonight. I was going to do a little bit of it tonight and then do a little bit of it on Thursday. I decided to leave it all for Thursday. We will do a little anniversary thing tonight. We will do that. But we won't, everything else we'll just leave a lot. As far as like what's going to be coming up and the changes that are coming to the show, we'll get into all those more on Thursday and kind of set the stage for all that. But, so just, so just try and point that out right away. As for what the anniversary thing is, I'll get to that later on in the show. There's no, I thought about kind of, tipping my hand here at the beginning, but I'm not going to do that. So you'll see what I mean at the end of the show, towards the end of the show. So before we get into everything and kind of, set the stage and do all that kind of stuff for what's to come tonight, first I want to remind you of all the ways which you can interact and contribute to our show. Have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Please remember to use the hashtag itspotlight411 for anything you tweet regarding our show. And of course, you can find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page once you're on it or once you find it. Okay, so tonight we got sports, we got wrestling. We're going to talk about the fallout from Monday Night Raw, from Hell in a Cell, Monday Night Raw, tonight's Smackdown. As I said, we'll do a real anniversary thing later on in the show. We're not doing a big deal. It's only 7 years. It's not a big milestone. We're not doing a big deal. It's kind of going to be like similar to last year, but we'll do a little something. We are going to look back at NFL week 5, look ahead to week 6, talk the MLB playoffs. So we'll do all that here tonight. So, and of course, we'll talk about any ongoing MLB playoff games, which there isn't any, so no worries there. So, but we'll do all that stuff here tonight. MLB playoffs, NFL, wrestling, Hell in a Cell, Raw, Smackdown, anniversary, all that good stuff is coming up tonight. But first, before we get into things, let me, of course, welcome in Mike. You're in the spotlight.
Hello, happy anniversary. I am watching the segment of the year.
Yes.
Between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Oh, it was everything I was hoping for.
Oh, God, I watched that Kevin Owens promo about heaven.
Kevin's Heaven.
You know that's gonna be a T-shirt, right?
I certainly hope so.
Oh, that was brilliant.
Oh, and Sami Zayn is at his full cheesiest in this segment. You can tell these guys are literally just having a ball.
I don't know if you saw, because I'm assuming what you're watching is the segment that was at 9 o'clock, but earlier in the show, they had, they're outside Owens, their dressing room, and it had Owens and Zayn like on the door.
Yes, I saw that little peek.
Like,
I saw the little thing.
They're gonna make us.
It was
wait.
just Kevin Owens. I thought that'd be the main event.
Well, I think that they're trying to, trying to mix it up a little bit, but yeah, I mean it's okay. They started off the show at one of their other hot angles, and then they did the other hot angle at 9. I mean, they have to switch it up, I guess, a little bit. But we're gonna actually start off with a breaking wrestling news piece here to start, and then we'll go into sports and then go back into wrestling, because I'm not sure if you're aware of it, Mike, but this news is starting to circulate here. Apparently, and it's looking like there might be some truth to these rumors. Neville has asked for his release.
Oh, wow.
From the company. The Pro Wrestling Sheets reporting, but it's been rumblings all day. Yesterday's main event was originally supposed to be Neville versus Enzo in a non-title match, non-title lumberjack match. And then I guess they changed plans. And they changed a lot of plans. Like yesterday, they were supposed to do a triple threat with the women and end up being a fatal 5-way or fatal 4-way. They did that a lot. They changed the plans a lot. So you didn't think anything of it. But apparently, remember, Kalisto versus Enzo was supposed to be the pay-per-view match at TLC. And they decided to do it last night suddenly. Well, apparently the reason for that, or at least that's what's being rumored right now, is that Neville quit yesterday, walked out, and has asked for his release. Now, there's other rumors, and these ones don't seem to have as much substantiation yet. They could very well be true. But right now, I mean, the only one that really looks like it could have some very big merit to it is the one that Neville quit and is asked for his release. That one looks like it has some merit to it right now. There's other pieces of this that I would be very careful to believe yet, but there could be reason to think they could be true. And that is that there's been other cruiserweights that have asked for their release. And a lot of people, again, this seems to be the case. This seems to be something that's linked to Enzo winning the cruiserweight title.
Yeah. I'm just reading this now. It looks like it's supposed to be a lumberjack match, and then sources say that Neville was supposed to lose.
Yes. Right.
And it's no secret. It's no surprise. We're not even pulling back the curtain. The cruiserweights don't like Enzo. Right. As a whole, as a division, the cruiserweights, when you see it on screen, they're not acting. Some are acting more, but they genuinely, this is for real, genuinely do not like Enzo Amore, and yes, they're aware that is helping put more eyes on their division. But it's risk reward. Yeah, we're getting more eyes, but this loser who doesn't wrestle, who cannot wrestle half as well as the worst wrestler in the division, is given all of the opportunities. And Neville, who's a very proud guy, a man who suffered through he suffered through a lot of terrible angles. He suffered through the rumored Mighty Mouse shit. He lost to Enzo once. He came out and he literally did beat the shit out of Enzo. When Enzo came down, Neville didn't pull his punches. He shot on Enzo a little bit. So you can understand Neville's frustration. Be like, all right, Neville, we want you to lose to Enzo Amore in a main event lumberjack match. Neville really walked out and asked for his release. I do not blame him one bit. Because Enzo is a blessing and a curse for 205 Live. He should not. Because he does bring some interest. He does bring some ratings to 205 Lives, but he's a curse because it is clearly, obviously, the worst wrestler in the division by far. He should not be in that spot. He should not be Cruiserweight champion because he's not as good as everybody else. Yes, there have been wrestlers who have been world champions who are not as good as everybody else. They're there as a draw. But when the Cruiserweight division's whole thesis is basically these guys are the most athletic and exciting on this roster, Enzo stands out like a sore thumb. Embarrassing. And Neville was probably the best wrestler of all of them. The best wrestler of all of them. Now that Kalisto's in the division, it's probably Neville or Kalisto. Kalisto is really, really good. So I'm not surprised that they scrapped it. It is what it is. So I don't blame Kalisto. And Brian, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry about that. Thank you.
And you allowed me to get my point out, but that's fine.
Wow. Okay, so first of all, a little Smackdown up there. I'm going to bring this up because apparently Baron Corbin beat AJ Styles clean.
Had to do something.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to AJ, but that kind of surprised me a little bit. But I guess that's the end of that feud. Good for AJ. I guess he moves on to bigger things, I imagine. Hint, hint, Owen Zing. Anyway. So, yeah, we don't know if this is true. It's looking like at least the Neville part of this is true. Whether other cruiserweights potentially have asked for their release. I would imagine, though, considering they weren't going to make that a title match last night originally, I would imagine the fact that Neville – see, that's what makes me think there – even before I kind of saw other sources speculating on this, I believe this to be true because if you think about it, first it was supposed to be a non-title match with Neville, right? But then Neville's not there, and they decided to do the Kalisto match and make it a title match. What had to happen was Neville walking out scared them with the possibility of other people leaving, so they did the title change.
Can't blame him.
That's what had to. And look, it was a good moment, especially given it was Eddie Guerrero's birthday, and it was a good moment, good timing to do it. I mean, I don't have an issue with them doing it. I think they should have been pushing Kalisto a long time ago. We all know that, but. I do think that they were a little bit more motivated to put the title on him last night because of the fact that supposedly Neville left. And that's going to suck for WWE because that's a big talent loss there. That's a huge talent loss because you invested a lot of time in getting Neville over this year. That's a huge loss. Now, maybe it's a case of, they'll tell him, hey, let's not make any rash decisions. Let us try to deal with this. Let's try to fix this. Take some time off, clear your head a little bit, and let's get together and let's see if we can work this out. You know what I mean? Maybe they try something like that, and say, hey, we took the title off of him. Maybe we'll just move on here and cool it on the Enzo stuff for a while and try to, get this going back to the liking of the rest of the Cruiserweight roster, Maybe they try something like that. I don't know. But it explains why everything was so suddenly changed and the way it all kind of went down yesterday. It does explain a lot. So we'll see what happens. It's a story to follow. I just wanted to lead with that because it's kind of like a breaking news story. And again, nothing's been confirmed. Nothing is, it's kind of just out there in the universe. You got to be careful with these rumors of a release thing. Remember, for a while there was a rumor that Rusev was going to had asked for his release. And that ended up not being true. So you got to be careful with these. But I think there's a little bit more here to merit this being true than there was with some of these other rumors that have taken place over the last couple of months. So we'll follow it and see if anything breaks, and we'll let you know if it does. We'll talk more wrestling later on in the show. First, I want to jump into sports, and we're going to start with the baseball because you know what? It's baseball playoff season, and starting with the NFL seems inappropriate because, look, it's October. It's the playoffs. It matters, okay? It's dumb to assume otherwise. I want to lead with the series that, you know, I think going in, a lot of people thought could end up being the series that people are going to be talking about if you know, things got interesting, and that is the Yankees and the Indians. Because obviously people think it's a foregone conclusion that the Indians, maybe more so than the Cubs, will get to the World Series. You know, you talk about their end of the season, the way things played out for them, how hot the Indians were, you know, and, you know, basically the idea that they're even, on paper, they look even better than they did last year. Now, let's take a look at this for a second here, okay, folks? Let's go back here over this last week and see how things have panned out. You know, the Yankees lost game 1. Bauer was brilliant. That's the way it went. Game 2, they come out. They rough up Corey Kluber. All right, they got an 8-3 lead. You're thinking they're going to run away with this thing. Well-rested bullpen. CC Sabathia is throwing a great game. You're thinking they're going to run away with this thing. Joe Girardi inexplicably, and I'm going to get to this because everybody's railroaded Joe Girardi, and rightfully so. But you know what? Let's just recap this for a second because it sets up the point I want to make. Joe Girardi inexplicably removed CC Sabathia from the game. Now, normally you look at his age, given the circumstance, given the bullpen you have, you look at 80 pitches. Well, usually that means it's probably time because later in the game, kind of batting averages against go up on CC Sabathia. But again, you don't always look at the numbers in some situations. You don't. I don't care. I know we're in the sabermetrics era. I know every manager now, for the most part, is into this thing. I get that. I get that 100%. Okay. But especially in playoff baseball, you really, really, really have to look at the performances. Because here's the thing. CC Sabathia, after the first 2 innings, came into his own. He was rolling through the game. He was not taxed at all from the 3rd inning on. All right, you have a 5-run lead. If CC Sabathia is good enough to pitch your game 2, okay, in this series, and potentially end up pitching your game 5, which he's going to do tomorrow night, then why on earth can you not trust CC to get out of that 6th inning, especially when he's cruising, and he really wasn't in that much trouble? Why on earth would you, especially when your option is to bring a very tired Chad Green into the game? That move made no sense. That's the first thing. And that was a numbers-based move. Well, it's getting to the 3rd time through the order, and they're going to do this, and they're going to do that. Whatever. Okay. Or it's getting to 80 pitches, and this is when they start hitting them. Okay, whatever. Whatever. 80 pitches isn't always the same. If it's an 80 pitches on a night when he had to constantly kind of fight through things, a little bit of a different story. If it's 80 pitches on a night like that, when aside from the first 2 innings, in the first 30 pitches, he hasn't struggled, different story. But anyway, then you get the call. And the call, I mean, the infamous, you know, he got hit by the pitch when he didn't. Now, forget about the fact that Lonnie Chisenhall did not look like he got hit by the pitch. He didn't act like he got hit by the pitch. He even sheepishly went to first base and didn't know really why he was going to first base because he knew he didn't get hit. He didn't even try to sell it like some guys would normally do, which as a manager you're kind of ticked off about because you want the guy to sell it because then there's no, you know, it might excuse out. Joe Girardi and the Yankees decide not to challenge the play despite the fact that players, including their catcher, are saying that they heard something and that he wasn't hit. That was a foul tip into the glove, which means that's a strikeout and that inning's over. No runs are scored at all in that situation. So they don't review. They hit a grand slam 8-7, and then the rest is history. You know, they end up blowing the game, a game that really you can't blow. You can't rough up that team's ace, the potential Cy Young this year, have a 5-run lead and have the bullpen the Yankees have and have the starting pitcher doing what the starting pitcher was doing for the Yankees. You can't blow that game. And most times that would be the end of your series, especially when you're down 0-2. That'd be the end of your series. But it wasn't the end of the Yankee series. They get a brilliant performance out of Tanaka, a game and potentially season-saving play from Aaron Judge. Big clutch home run from Greg Bird. Great performance by Chapman. They get game 3, and then game 4, all of a sudden Cleveland hears voices in their head, and they have 4 errors, 5 unearned runs for the Yankees. A great clutch turnaround redemption performance by Luis Severino, and a big-time performance by Tommy Cannelly, and they go away with another big win. Now you're at a 2-2 series as you're heading to a Game 5 tomorrow night. Now, we talked about Girardi. And if we're going to talk about playoff, you could even go back as far as the wild card game and say maybe Girardi shouldn't have pitched Severino in that wild card game, even though he had, in my opinion, his best game as a manager in that game with the way he managed the bullpen and managed them to a win. Even though he had his best performance as a manager, he kind of set the stage for that kind of situation by pitching a pitcher. Granted, he's your best, but that's the one team that seemed to have his number in the way that they handled him. You saw him 2 weeks prior have the same kind of problem with him. Why would you go to him in a one-game playoff? I don't know, but again. So we talked about Girardi. Why don't we talk about Terry Francona? Because Terry Francona, now, okay, he goes with Carrasco in game 3. He gets beat 1-0. You live with that, right? Now, we talked about Terry Francona's decision to pitch Bauer in game 1 and Kluber in game 2. And everybody's like, what are they doing? It paid off in regards to Bauer. It didn't look like it paid off in regards to Kluber. But on the flip side, doing that move, you get a well-rested Kluber for game 5 tomorrow night, and the chances of him pitching as badly as he pitched in game 2 is probably very slim, unless there's something else going on with him. But look what happened with. But let's go back to game 4. Now, he had used Tom Wynn out of the bullpen early in the series, but that did not preclude him from using Tom Wynn for a game 4. He also could have used Salazar for a game 4 if he really chose to. So he had options for a game 4, especially since he was up 2-1. But instead, seeing as how the series had now gone to 2-1, he decided to go with Bauer on short rest. And if you followed Bauer on short rest, the results are very mixed. He's had a couple good starts. He's had a couple bad starts. Most notably in last year's playoffs, he had a couple bad starts. He's not the same on short rest. Blows up in his face, ends up using more of his bullpen, and now that sets the stage for game 5. Now Francona is getting criticized where Girardi 4 days ago was being criticized. Maybe not to that same level of extent. He's not getting booed by fans like Joe Girardi is. Now, what is the point I'm trying to make here other than the fact that this has become a very good series and we're going to have a very entertaining game 5 tomorrow night? The point I'm trying to make here is this. I am sick and tired of managers only basing their decisions on the numbers. I am sick of it. It's ruining the game. It's making some harebrained decisions. It's costing teams wins, potential championships. I do not understand to this day, okay, why? In an era where we don't let pitchers sometimes go beyond 80 pitches in a game when they're rested, why on earth you'd go to a pitcher on 3 days rest? Not when guys are not built for anywhere. The CC Sabathias of the world are pretty much all retired. Those guys were built for that kind of stuff. You could bring them back on 3 days rest and get 7 innings out of them. These guys are not built like that. The Indians' rotation is all very young. They are not built like that. It will not go over well. You will not be the same pitcher. And you're never the same. Even back in the day, you wouldn't be the same pitcher, but you could find ways to be effective. You can't do that now because your body is not built for it. They don't let it be built for it. They don't want their pitchers to throw 80, 90 pitches anymore. Which I think is ridiculous because here's the thing. You end up making decisions like Girardi did in game 2, which really could, if he leaves Sabathia in, he might not even have to worry about making that call, that decision, which was the wrong decision with the replay. Let your pitchers pitch. Base it on performance. I'm telling you right now, folks, so much of this, I understand that numbers are very important, especially in a game like baseball. But the only numbers that should matter in baseball, okay, are your batting average, your home runs, your RBIs, and your on-base percentage. And that's in regards to hitting. Pitching-wise, your ERA, your strikeouts, your walks. I don't care about the rest. On your wins total, wins and loss total. I don't care about the rest. The rest of it don't matter to me. I don't care how many runs you prevented or wins above replacement. Get this crap out of here. And then sometimes now they're trying to get it into football and others. Get it out of here. Because those numbers can be so ridiculously skewed and lead to so many dumb decisions. Because here's the thing, folks, and I'm going to be, I dare you all. I dare any of you number freaks out there. I dare any of you to look back at the World Series winners every year since this number craze started and see how many of the teams that won based on strictly on decisions based on numbers. It was just as much about it was just as much about instinct and gut decisions as it was about numbers. It was just as much about what you saw on the field and the performance and what your eyes told you as it was about those stupid numbers in a binder. Joe Girardi had his best game as a manager in that wild card game. Why? Because he trusted his gut more than the binder. He let the flow of the game determine his decisions. The performance of his pitchers determine his decisions, not what was in some stupid binder. That's how you manage. That's how you play. This is beyond garbage at this point. It doesn't do anything. These teams that are just all about ask Billy Beane. And Billy Beane's a brilliant baseball man. He's done a lot in Oakland. We've seen him cultivate a lot of good talent. But how many World Series have they won based on their real numbers and their sabermetrics? How many World Series have they won? How many have they been to? My point exactly. They've been to none. I'm telling you, folks, I am telling you.
Brian, your sound's off. No, I can't hear you. Nope. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Wouldn't be a show without Right Brian's righteous indignation and technical difficulties. Happy anniversary. Still can't hear you, buddy. No, I still can't hear you. Okay, you got it. There you are. I'm hearing sound in the background now. Try talking. No.
Am I good? We good?
Try it now. Yes, you're back. Now you can keep talking about how much Joe Girardi sucks.
Well, what was the last thing you heard me say?
How bad? Do you really want to ask me that question?
Well, it would help if once in a while you paid attention. So in a situation like this, I wouldn't have to repeat everything I just said.
Right. Well, I believe it was something like, well, could not manage out of a binder. I don't care about wins above replacement. I don't care about this and then the other thing. And then I want to say, so yeah, have at it, Hoss. Have at it.
I will. Thank you. I got to turn my volume up first. All right. So I will do that. Thank you. So like I said, you can't base everything on the binders because those numbers are not always going to tell you the story. Sometimes the pitcher's going to have an easier time and you don't need to worry about getting that pitcher. I mean, it's just ridiculous to me. Because if you manage with your gut, you might not have the situation in the game 2 that the Yankees have. If you manage with your gut, or if you don't overmanage to the point or base things on numbers, you might say, you know, I'm going to run a Salazar out there in a game 4 or whatever, or run a Tomlin out there in game 4. I mean, again, it's just these decisions managed. There's a reason why baseball worked before the sabermetric era and why it was an exciting game to watch before the sabermetric era. You know, they keep being worried about pace of play. We keep being worried about how long the games are. The reason why the games are long is because managers are over-managing the piss out of every freaking game because they're worried about what the hell the binder says about, well, after the 6th inning, that pitcher never seems to pitch well. They make more contact and all this. No. Manage the game the right way. But you can base on, I'm not saying don't ever use the numbers. Look at the numbers and say, if it gets to a 7 inning, wherever, say, you know what? Boy, you know what? This guy owns. Let's just use CC Sabathia as an example. Wow, you know what? This guy's got a 450 batting average against CC Sabathia. We can't, and he's at 90 pitches. I don't know about that. There's a couple men on base. All right, let's go. Who do we got in the bullpen that has good numbers against this guy? Oh, okay, Robertson. Okay, this guy comes in. That's different. That's a completely different thing to do. But just going, well, it's the 6th inning. He's at 80 pitches. Well, you know, on average, at 80 pitches, he starts to get hit. On average, doesn't mean he gets hit every single time he hits 80 pitches, folks. You don't. That's not how you do things. He was cruising in that game 2. He was so good in that game 2. There was no reason to pull him out of that game, but because the information and the data says so, you do it. And you know what? That data is so skewed because it might have just been a couple of games where he just didn't have it, and you again, it just builds it up a little bit more to make it look like it's a bad decision when it's not. You got to take things as a case-by-case basis. If you look at that game 2 on paper, there's no way the Yankees should have hit Kluber the way they did. But they did. That shows you how circumstances can change. But because we looked at the data would have said, well, there's no way that the Yankee lineup can really hit Kluber like that. Well, guess what? They did. And this is what I'm saying. Please, I mean, thankfully it looks like baseball's turned a corner, and more people are realizing that it can't just be a numbers-driven deal. You have got to legitimately look at what you're seeing and really get a feel for the game and feel for your players and manage the players based on what you're seeing, not just the numbers. It really is starting to make a comeback, and I hope it continues to, because that's what's good for the game, and that's going to lead to far more success for some of these teams. I'm telling you, I've seen so many teams lose games because of the stupidity, because they think that, you know, the numbers are going to make better decisions for them. They don't. Sometimes maybe they do, yes, but not nearly enough to have it be such a numbers-focused sport like it became a couple years ago. Not nearly enough. So now that I got that rant over with, we have a game 5 tomorrow night. And the whole theme of this series has been redemption. The Indians want to redeem themselves for what happened last year in the World Series, but they have to get to the World Series. The Yankees want to redeem themselves for a lot of things. Tanaka wanted to redeem himself for having a bad year, and he has. Severino wanted to redeem himself for a bad wildcard performance. He has. CC Sabathia wanted to redeem himself and prove that he could still do this. He has. The Yankees want to redeem themselves from being swept by Cleveland a couple months ago. Finish the job. Girardi is hanging on this series because he wants to show. First of all, he said it last night. His teams picked them up, and even whether it was about him or not, which I don't think it was, they have. If they go all the way with this thing, it redeems him. It gets the monkey off his back. Otherwise, it's still there, and his legacy has this black mark on it forever. Tomorrow night should be a great game. I think CC will pitch well. CC doesn't need to go very long. The bullpen's rested. I think you'll see the Yankee bullpen early. I think you'll see Cleveland. I think Francona's going to make this very, very easy. He's going to hope that Kluber is himself, and if he is, then this plan will work. It will be Kluber to Miller to Allen. That's the way he's going to try to draw it up. and we'll see how it goes. If he has to go, and to me, that's going to be a big key tomorrow night. Is, can the Yankees get Kluber out of there earlier and have him go to other guys in the bullpen they might be more comfortable with? That's going to be a big key tomorrow night. I picked the Indians to win this in 5. I'm not going to bail on my pick, but I'm telling you right now, the Yankees come in with a lot of momentum. A lot of momentum. But the Indians have momentum too because they're the Indians and they're at home. But in these situations, when you let a team come back and tie this series at 2, when you had a 2-0 lead, and you beat them the way you did in game 2, if you let that team get out in front of you and get a lead in your home ballpark tomorrow night, that pressure is going to start to feel very, very insurmountable. I don't care how much experience, it's going to feel very insurmountable. Because remember, Cleveland has more pressure because they think this is supposed to be their year. So that will make things very interesting tomorrow night if the Yankees come out and get the lead early. I'm still going with the Indians because I don't want to bolt on my pick. But it's going to be a good game tomorrow night. Dodgers, I said that I thought Arizona might beat the Dodgers. Obviously, I'm flipping series here. They didn't. Arizona was outclassed. They were outplayed. The Dodgers looked like they woke it up from whatever late season malaise they had, and they finished it off. So the Dodgers await whoever is going to win between the Nationals and the Cubs. They got rained out today. Their game 4 will be tomorrow. I would anticipate it being the Cubs. Scherzer pitched well, but I just don't know about the Nationals. I just don't think I think the Cubs experience, and look, if you look at both these teams and the way this series has played, the Cubs have played better, but the Nationals have more talent. I think, especially with the pitching. The pitching puts them over the top. Offensively, I think the Cubs are better. But pitching-wise, the Nationals are so clearly better as far as the starting rotation goes. We know that. But it hasn't mattered in the series. I think the Cubs are going to win the series. I picked them to win the series, and I think this is probably going to be the end of the Nationals window here. I think it will be. Maybe they get one more year out of it. I don't know. But, I still think the Cubs will win this series. I think they've played better in the series, and I think they'll win it. And it hasn't been a very interesting series in my mind. It just hasn't been. Unfortunately, it hasn't been. The Arizona Diamondbacks series I thought would be interesting and ended up not being because, again, Arizona just was outclassed. The Dodgers just finally said, what the hell with this? We're done being a disappointment. We're going to go to the NLCS, and they did it. It was a dominant performance. On the flip side, the other AL series, that was a very weird series. Because we knew Houston was better, and obviously the Red Sox were a tremendous underdog. And you give them credit for getting the winning game 3, and they almost won game 4. I honestly don't understand what was going on in game 4. I understand all hands on deck. It's an elimination game. I don't know why they used Sale the way they did in game 4. I don't know why they did that. I'm not saying using Sale was a bad idea, but they hit Sale pretty hard in game 1. I don't know if I would have pulled Sale out there. Chris Sale, and that's going to be an interesting subplot now. Because the beginning of all this drama with David Price this year, with people, with the media and everything, was the fact that David Price continued to struggle in big game in playoffs, and that's something that kind of got things started and started getting some extra pressure on him. I want to see what happens next year with Sale, because if you think about it, from the All-Star break on, Chris Sale was not the same. Actually, forget about All-Star break. From August on, he was not the same. And he has had some bad ends of the season. So I think you're going to start to wonder if maybe Chris Sale is just a guy that they throw too many innings early on and then he runs out of gas late. Because he did not look like the same pitcher in late August, September, and even October. He got hit hard. So that's something that the Red Sox are going to have to figure out with him. Is this just a simple thing where we're going to have to be very careful how much we use him early on? Or is it just something? Otherwise, it's an even bigger concern. Because I think at least if you figure out something you can manage, then you figure it out. But if it's not, and this is just something that's going to be a trajectory with him every year, because some guys are like that. Maybe they get off to bad starts, or maybe they finish weak. If Chris Sale is going to be this kind of guy that late in the season he starts getting knocked around and he can't pitch in October, then that's going to be a major issue for the Red Sox, because that they're going to practically run him out of town. And he did not pitch well in this series. He did not pitch well down the stretch. I think you like what you saw from Pomeranz. I think Price did very well out of the bullpen. Some of his better performances in October out of the bullpen. Actually, I think in Tampa he had his best performance in the postseason in the bullpen. But Houston's just too good. Their lineup's too good. Altuve had a hell of a series. They're just too good, and their starting pitching didn't even need to be good. To be honest, it didn't. Verlander gave him a lot. Keuchel was all right, but they didn't need it. They really didn't need it because their lineup was just so good. So it was a good performance by Houston. It was a weird series though because it felt like, you know what, if you look at it, it was very one-sided, but then it didn't feel like it either. Like you looked at the run score and you looked at the way Houston performed versus the way the Red Sox performed. But then when you're watching the game, it was just very meh. There was nothing to it. It was just lacking energy a lot of the time. You know, even the Dodgers sweeping the Diamondbacks, that series had some energy to it. It was very weird to me. But so you got Houston in the ALCS, you got the Dodgers in the NLCS. 2 more spots remain. Cubs Nationals will decide. You know, again, Cubs Nationals will decide over the next 2 games if there is a game 5. Right now, we only got game 4. It's all we're promised right now. That'll be tomorrow. We'll see if it's the Cubs or the Nationals that advance to play the Dodgers. And on the flip side will be the Yankees or the Indians. Tomorrow night we'll find out, and we'll see who the Final Four in baseball will be. It should be a good day tomorrow of baseball. I'm thinking the Cubs and the Indians both win tomorrow, but we'll see. We'll see. I do think the Cubs will finish it in 4. I do. So we'll see. But definitely been a very interesting playoff so far. Some storylines, even though the series haven't, maybe Yankees Indians has kind of lived up to the hype, but even though some of these series haven't been particularly great, there's been some storylines around them, so at least it's kept things interesting. So we'll see how things go here. So that's the baseball. I'm gonna jump to football, and I'm not going to be crazy about it this week. We're not going to do college football again this week. If we didn't do it last week, I don't want people to get their hopes up or not. There's nothing to talk about. We are getting to the point in the season where things are going to get interesting with the playoff rankings and stuff. But right now, we're not going to do anything with that because nothing really, there's been some upsets in that, but nothing really to, talk about. All right, so we look back at a week 5 that, and I do think we continue the trajectory of improving the quality of play. For the second straight week, there was a noticeable improvement. So I think going into this week, I think you expect it to be all the way back, and I think you can now sit there and watch the games and not feel like they're, that people, these teams haven't come together and that things are ugly. And I think things have finally kind of come into their own. We saw a lot better games played over these last 2 weeks, most notably last week. So I think that part of the series, I think things have improved, and I don't think we have to worry about that too much anymore. Now it's about the teams and where they're at. And it's really hard to figure out some of these teams. I think we can safely say now, and as we look at this, we know the Chiefs now have distanced themselves from the pack as being that team. They are one of the elites now. They're probably the only true elite right now as it stands right now. Then you have, I would say I'd put on a top tier, but not quite elite. You have the Eagles, who have been really, really good. They're 4-1. They had a great win over the Cardinals where they dominated. I think you put the Eagles there because I think they just showed themselves to have that kind of potential in recent weeks. You put the Eagles there now. I think you put the Packers there. The Packers have been very good. That comeback against the Cowboys was ridiculous. It was a great, great performance. Their defense really, really went strong in the second half. I think you put the Packers up there as well. Obviously, I think you put the Falcons up there. I think they go up there as well. They've proven themselves. We know they're going to be in the mix. There's no Super Bowl hangover there. The Panthers, I think, have earned the right to be there at this point. They've beaten the Lions last week in a very gutty performance. You know what they beat, and with everything that was going on with Cam Newton last week, and you know about the apology and whether you want to take it as genuine or not, whatever. But with all distraction, they pull it out and play a tough game on the road and pull it out. And after beating the Patriots, I think we can put the Panthers up there on that top tier as well. And obviously you're going to put the Patriots there, even though they're only 3-2 because they're the Patriots. So I think you put those teams on that top level tier. Oh, and the Broncos, I think you put up there as well. For obvious reasons. They had a bye last week, so you don't whatever. Now, then there's that middle tier of teams to keep an eye on and where they're at. Okay? I think you keep the Cowboys there because even though it looks like they're regressive, especially on defense, their defensive performance late in the game on Sunday was terrible in that Packer game. But I think you keep them on that to watch list. Seattle, I think you keep on that watch list. The Rams got off to a good start, and then they've fallen off the last couple of weeks. So I think you now pull them down because I think they're starting to show themselves to be the same team that they were last year. I still think you put the Raiders on the watch list because I just think right now, they're real banged up, and I think they'll get past this, and I think they'll be in the mix. But I think you have to kind of still keep an eye on them. The Steelers, I think, have dropped down a little bit because they just have not looked good. They look terrible against Jacksonville, terrible. And I think there's some drama going on there because I think Ben in some ways got some issues with some of the team. And I think that's going to be a problem. And Jacksonville, I don't know what to make of them yet. I still think they're on the bottom tier, but I think you got to keep an eye on Jacksonville because offensively, they've been terrific this year. Let's see who else. The Lions, I think you put on the watch list. I think the Bills dropped down a little bit. I think you put them on the watch list as well. Teams in that middle tier that could do something. Bills with a tough loss to the Bengals. Just didn't get enough offensively. And again, defensively, they did their thing. They're always going to do their thing. But so I think those teams are those middle tier teams. I also put the Saints in there and the Redskins as well. They both had byes last week because I think you want to keep an eye on them. The Redskins looked really good in their last game against the Chiefs. So, I think keep an eye on them. Then you have everybody else. Even though the Vikings, defensively look good, offensively it was a mess. But I don't buy into them. The Texans, I don't buy into, especially with J.J. Watt out. Now I know we talked about Deshaun Watson, how good he was doing, but I think right now, even if he does good with Watt gone, that's a tremendous loss. I think you put them in that bottom tier now as well. Bears are bad. They're really, really low on the totem pole. So are the Giants. The Giants are done. Odell Beckham Jr. is done for the year. Now there's talk that they might try to run Eli Manning out of New York. The Giants are done. The Chargers are bad. When the Chargers beat you, you're in trouble. They're bad. The Dolphins are bad. I think the Titans are going to fall off now because they have a lot of issues. So I don't buy into them. I don't obviously buy into the 49ers. The Colts needed overtime to beat the 49ers. So I put them in that bottom tier as well. Browns obviously are on the bottom tier. And I think the Jets are down there too. The Jets have benefited from a soft schedule. Give them credit. But they're on that bottom. And I think the Bengals are. I think the Bengals just got lucky against the Bills. I really do. Buccaneers are in the bottom, but they could move up because they have a lot of potential. They hung in that Patriot game. Defensively, they did very well. Just didn't have enough offensively. So, I think that's how it stands right now as far as these teams and what you're seeing. That's how it kind of falls. I think it was a big statement win for the Packers, another big statement for the Panthers, and big statement win, I think, for the Eagles, even though the Cardinals haven't been that good. And the Ravens I put in that bottom tier as well because I just think they benefit. Again, they got a good win against Oakland, but Oakland's banged up. So, but yeah, I thought the Packers had a big statement win. The Chiefs did as well. I thought the Panthers did as well, and the Eagles. I thought those are the big statement wins this week, and all great performances. So it wasn't a very eventful week 5. Granted, again, very happy that the quality of play was better, but there was some shifting. I think we're starting to see some distance in regards to some of these teams and how they're playing. We're starting to get an idea of who's at the top and who isn't, who's elite. Obviously, the Chiefs be the only true elite team, but I think we can now kind of see how these things are shaking out a little bit and see maybe who's going to be towards the top and, who's teams to watch and then who's at the bottom. So as far as the picks go, how did I do? I had the Chiefs over the Texans, so I got a win there. Cowboys over Packers, I got a loss there. Patriots over Bucks, I got a win. Panthers over Lions, I got a win. Seahawks over Rams, I got a win. And Eagles over Cardinals, I got a win. So I had a good week finally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1. So finally, I get a decent week as far as these picks go. So I'm very, very happy about that. And now we jump to week 6. Let's see what we got here in week 6 here. And again, as the season continues to surge forward, again, I expect another good week of football. Quality should continue to be better, and I think that, kind of left the bad play behind, so that's good. Got a big game, finally, decent Thursday game in my mind. Eagles-Panthers. I'm going to pick that game right out of the chute. Both teams 4-1. I've liked the way the Eagles have played, but the Panthers have beaten better competition. I mean, can the Eagles win this game? Probably, but I think the Panthers are better defensively than the Eagles. So, and being at home, I'm going to pick the Panthers over the Eagles in that game. I think that would be a very good game to watch, a good Thursday game finally to watch. Let's see if any other big I try to pick the big national games first because, oh, by the way, Bills, Bengals, Cowboys, Seahawks all have buys this week. A couple of those teams probably could use buys, Bills and Cowboys notably. Sunday night game, because the Monday night game is terrible. Colts Titans is a terrible game. Sunday night game. 0-5 Giants, 3-1 Broncos. Now I know that's on paper seems like a bad game, but you know what? You have to wonder, and I know they're on the road. You have to wonder if the Giants are going to come out one week and just kind of throw caution to the wind and really try to pull something out. I think you're going to be surprised. I actually think that the Giants will have a chance in this game. I think they're going to come out with a surprise performance because right now I think, look, they have nothing to lose. They're 0-5. They're probably not going anywhere. So now they're going to be trying to play spoiler. I still think the Broncos will win. I'm going to pick the Broncos over the Giants in what should be a close game. But keep an eye on this game because I think the Giants are going to surprise people in that game. Chiefs Steelers, 4:25 on p.m. Eastern on CBS from Kansas City. Steelers have been very inconsistent. Defensively, they've had issues. Offensively, they've been very inconsistent. I think the Chiefs win this game. I do, especially at home. I think the Chiefs are proving themselves to be the best in the NFL right now. You never know what you're going to get with the Steelers. I do think you'll get a better performance from them just because they usually come off a loss, especially one that's bad and when they play badly. They usually come off strong, and I think they will. But, I still think even with that, the Chiefs are going to be too good. So I think the Chiefs beat the Steelers in that game. What else? Quickly. Lions Saints on Fox, 1:00 p.m. Eastern. Could be a good game. Saints at home usually score a lot of points anyway. Lions usually score a lot of points anyway. Both teams in the domes. That should be a lot of offense. Lions defensively are a little better, but Saints are even better at home than the Lions are. So home cooking will probably make a difference here. I'm going to go with the Saints over the Lions in that game. Packers Vikings, I think at 1:00 p.m. on Fox should be a close game. But I think the Packers just have way too much. I think defensively the Vikings will probably keep this a little lower than you'd probably suspect this game would be as far as offense goes. I think they'll make this a little bit more of a grinded out kind of game, but I think the Packers just have too much. They're playing too well. I'm going with the Packers over the Vikings in what should be a close game because of the Vikings defense. All right, and one more game to pick, and I'm having a tough time finding one. The only game I think could be relatively close, and it's simply because of the defense, is the Patriots and the Jets, so I'll pick that game. That's a 1:00 game on CBS. Jets defensively have enough to contain the Patriots and keep the score lower. Unfortunately, when your quarterback and they don't have a good enough quarterback, and they don't have a good enough offense to keep up with the Patriots. Even if you keep the Patriots in the low teens, I don't know if the Jets can do enough. I know the Patriot defense is terrible. I just don't know if they can do enough. Their offense is not that good. And even against a poor Patriot defense, I think they'll find enough ways to kind of limit the Jets to a little bit so that they can't come up. And again, when you already have a bad offense to begin with, you don't have to limit them too much to kind of, outscore them. So I'm going to go with the Patriots over the Jets, but that's a game that I think will end up being a little more closer than people would suspect. And that's the way a lot of these games that I pick could end up, where you're kind of surprised by the score, but I don't predict a lot of upset. I just think people will be surprised about the scores. But Patriots over Jets. So Panthers over Eagles, Broncos over Giants, Chiefs over Steelers, Saints over Lions, Packers over Vikings, and Patriots over Jets. Your picks for Week 6 of the NFL. And, of course, we'll look back at those picks and look ahead to Week 7 on next week's show. And see how we did. All right, that's the NFL portion of the show. We've done MLB. That's all the sports stuff that I have that I thought we needed to talk about, and that's all that you really all want to talk about. So we'll leave it at that. We will go from sports to wrestling, and we go first to the fallout from Hell in a Cell. First off, let's talk about Hell in a Cell. I thought a decent pay-per-view. The mid-card kind of brought it down a little bit. The WWE Championship match really brought it down, as they once again decided to have a lackluster finish to that match, and somehow inexplicably have Jinder beat Nakamura without too much interference, which, you wonder what they're going to do with Nakamura now.
I picked the Raiders in week 5.
Hey, let's see if you're right.
Are you still talking? Are you still talking about football?
No, I moved on to wrestling. I'm talking about Nakamura and Mahal.
I'm going to go back on mute now.
Sorry. But really, you have to wonder what they're going to do with Nakamura now, because you've kind of hurt his credibility here. You kind of have to get away from this for a while and do something to build him a little bit back up. Who knows what they do with Jinder Mahal? There's talk that Jinder's even got a shoulder thing going on. I mean, I don't know what they're trying to do here. It's not working. There was talk they would just take the title off. They take the title off and put it right back on, but they didn't do that. So who knows? But that match kind of brought the whole night down. Orton Rusev was okay. Charlotte and Natalya was okay. The ending was kind of sketchy. I don't mind the DQ fans. I just didn't like the way they executed it. They put Rude and Ziggler in a bad spot. That match should have been swapped with Orton and Rusev. That was bad. The match itself wasn't bad, but the spot was bad, and the crowd wasn't into it. And I do like, the Ziggler entrance. I like the way it is. It's very, like, I don't mind the gimmick. It's growing on me. I do like the entrance he does now, but I don't know. It's not going anywhere, so who cares? What else? The triple threat match, adding Dillinger. Wait, now we know why he beat Corbin last week. I thought the first half was really boring when Baron Corbin was on offense and dominating, but once you kind of got the other two guys into it doing more, it got good. So I didn't think that was too bad either. The pre-show match with Gable and Benjamin and the Hype Bros was okay, but obviously we knew it was a two-match show, and both those matches were to the hype. The tag match that opened the night between the Usos and the New Day was a phenomenal match. Very intense, very violent, probably the most violent, intense Hell in a Cell match without blood that you've ever seen. Great storytelling, inventive spots, a spot in the corner with the kendo sticks acting as a jail for the one Uso. The backbreaker spot with Big E and Xavier on the side of the ring was, especially with Xavier having a bad knee with the knee brace, was brutal to watch. Some very brutal spots in the match and very good storytelling, very good performances. The handcuff usage and just a very good man. And what I really appreciate is, because the New Day has the comedy thing. They did the comedy early in the match, and then it got more and more serious as it went. And then just the facial expressions and the selling, it was a very good match. One of my favorites. And a lot of people said it's a match of the year. Ken, I agree. So they started the night hot with that match, and they end the night with a main event that was very, very hyped. It ended up being the A program on SmackDown, rightfully so, because the W Championship feud was terrible. It lived up to hype. Kevin Owens had a great promo before the match. Great video package, obviously, continued to hype. Look, this match was very different, other than Shane's punching, which was probably the worst part of the match, and that we all knew that going in. Look, this match worried you, especially once they got outside the cell the second time. I mean, they did some great spots in the cell. Owens with the cannonball through the table, and there were some great spots in the cell. But once they got outside the cell, it was just like you were constantly worried about these guys. You were really scared about what they were going to do. We knew Shane was going to do a crazy spot. I love the sequence where Owens was about to jump off the barricade on Shane, then decided to climb up the cell. And then you saw the conflict and him going back and forth, really just trying to figure out, like, what should I do? What should I do? Do I want to go this far? Do I want to risk this? And then Shane comes up, and then the whole time they're on the cell, you're like, are they going to go through it? Like, is that cell going to be able to hold them? Like, it was such a nail biter. And then they climb down. Shane drops Owens into the punches Owens off the cell through the table. Owens isn't getting up. You're thinking, okay, maybe Shane's going to pull this one out. He decides to climb up and do the same spot he did in the Undertaker match. And you know, people keep wondering why he keeps doing this when his kids are there. But hey, and his wife as well. And he jumps off the cell, goes through the table. This time the bump looks even more brutal than the first time he did it a couple years ago or 18 months ago. And, you know, of course, other than obviously, that's a big moment in and of itself. But what made that moment even bigger was that somebody comes out and you're wondering why Owens is hanging half off the table. Somebody comes out and pulls Owens off the table before Shane jumps through the table. And that somebody ends up being Sami Zayn. A shocking move. Which, you know, they've been, look, the last couple of weeks, you see him powerbombed on the apron. You think, you know, oh, it's just a typical Sami Zayn Owens thing. And then he's warning Shane about how Owens is, you know, dangerous and everything and thinking nothing of it. Well, they planted seeds for a reason, and that was a moment. And that was a moment that Sami Zayn needed. They were doing nothing with him. Instantly, he gets interesting and things get going, and it was a hell of a moment. He drags Owens into the cover. Owens pins Shane McMahon. Shane gets stretchered out. And now we got this interesting angle with Owens and Zayn, which we'll talk about more when we talk about Smackdown in a little bit. But in my mind, that match was fantastic. Great storytelling. It was a very scary match to watch, an edge of the seat match to watch, because you just know what these two guys were going to do. But they sold the intensity, they sold the unpredictability. You generally saw how personal this feud had gotten. The storytelling was great. You didn't know what you guys were going to do, how far they were going to go to beat each other. It was a great match, and the opener was a great match. Two great matches, and that's what made the pay-per-view. Made it decent because everything else kind of brought it down. But those two matches made the pay-per-view, and they should be proud of those two matches. They were really, really good. Mike, your thoughts on Hell in a Cell?
There was some good, some bad, some dumb decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with the bad, work our way up to the good. Jinder and Rude had an all right match. Was dead from the worst match on the show. Jinder or Rude's fault. I mean, people care about Jinder. People care about Bobby Roode. Dolph Ziggler. The fact that it was in between the championship match and the Hell in a Cell wasn't the best placement for it. A decent match. They tried.
Yeah.
And the feud will continue. It had a very clever finish. And they're going to build off of that. So, all right. Something for Bobby Roode to do. The worst match on the show is Jinder Mahal versus Shinsuke Nakamura. And let me be very clear. It has nothing to do with Shinsuke Nakamura. Shinsuke Nakamura is fantastic. He is a great wrestler when he's completely motivated. He's a pretty damn good wrestler when he's not. Hall is just not ready for the main event. This is exactly what this is. Jinder Mahal just isn't ready for the spot he's in. And look, I'm one of those people who are like, yes, you have to build new stars. And you do. But the way you did it with Jinder Mahal is not how you build a new star. Jinder Mahal, by all accounts, is a great guy, but his style is not a main event style. He needed time to learn the main event style. Honest to God, we've gotten the same match from Jinder pretty much 5 pay-per-views in a row right now. Singh brothers interfere. They may or may not get sent back to the back. They interfered just long enough for Jinder to get one over on the guy. Nakamura would have won the title had the Singh brothers been gone, but they rushed back to the ring. You got the visual 3 count. The referee comes back, 1-2, no. The Singh brothers disappear. Shinsuke makes a mistake, and Jinder wins because the Singh brothers essentially saved him again. Oh, great. Here we go. It's the same every month because you're hiding Jinder's flaws. This anymore with this title. I mean, it's to the point where Jinder Mahal wasn't even on the show tonight.
Yep.
WWE title wasn't even on SmackDown tonight. They replaced Jinder Mahal with Aiden English. Let me say that again. They replaced Jinder Mahal, the WWE champion, in a tag match they've been running on every house show loop for the last God knows how long. They replaced Jinder Mahal, the WWE champion, with Aiden. That's how. I mean, if that doesn't speak volumes to what it is, then I don't know that they'd rather have Aiden English out there with Rusev, Orton, and Nakamura. All the champion of your thing. And by the way, does anybody even believe that Jinder Mahal is the top heel on the show? He's the champion. No. Does anybody believe that he's the A program on the show? Who's the A program on the show?
Owens, Zayn, Shane.
Right. I mean, Sami Zayn just got added to it last night.
Yeah. But Owens. Okay, so Owens McMahon, basically.
Owens McMahon. And the fact that they kept it on SmackDown is important. For now, at least, Owens stays on SmackDown because there were all the rumors that he would have been on Raw. On SmackDown. Because I think some of them realize that they can't take Kevin Owens off of SmackDown right now. They just can't. KO is one of those essential pieces to SmackDown because AJ Styles, who is the heart and soul of the brand, does not have momentum now because he's been in this terrible month-long feud with Baron Corbin, who has had his knees cut out from under him. This feud has been designed not to give AJ Styles credibility. It's been designed to give his nuts back. And it's fine because you do need, in the future, you do need Baron Corbin to have credibility, 100%. The fact that here we are, and Jinder Mahal is your champion, and AJ Styles, your top face, essentially, has no momentum right now. Not good. Sami Zayn turning heel, or essentially turning heel. Was it really a heel turn, though? Sami Zayn essentially turning heel has been the most SmackDown has been. Interesting development and the most interesting program on the show by a lot. I'm sorry. And Sami's interesting. Sami was interesting as a face. You wanted to root for him, and now it's like another level to it. It's like, well, Shane McMahon sold me this pack of lies. I think I went too far. I went too much on a tangent, but I'll get to that in a minute. Shane McMahon sold him a pack of lies. But I digress. The Jinder Mahal thing's just embarrassing. Natalya versus Charlotte was fine. It was fine. It continues. You're not ready for Carmella to thing. And by the way, where the fuck are they going with this Carmella and Ellsworth thing?
I don't know.
The only person who is mildly entertained by this is Vince McMahon. Let's have Carmella put Ellsworth on a leash and have him bark like a dog for water. This is so funny. And everyone else is like, what type of pornography has Vince McMahon been watching lately? I mean, really, what type of pornography has Vince McMahon been watching lately? So the Carmella thing's not in play yet. Charlotte actually has another chance. Natalya gets disqualified. Here we go. We're gonna go back to this eventually. Artificially extending Natalia's reign is what this is. The U.S. title match was pretty good. The Corbin was super tired from the weekend, and for the first part of this match, I was all but asleep. I mean, I was with you, my eyes were closed, and I was all but asleep. Second half of the match was better. Surprising. Corbin retaining tonight was even more surprising. Clean, retaining clean. So Corbin, you're trying. It's a good way forward. Gable and Benjamin beat the Hype Bros. Is anybody surprised? No. Okay. The match, so I can't speak to it. Last night, did I just leave the Hell in a Cell matches, or did I miss something? Oh, Orton Rusev existed. that match and Rude Ziggler probably should have been switched in the scheme of things. Orton Rusev existed. Wrong finish. Got the win there. Orton winning does nothing. But hey, the feud continues, right? Right? All right.
Yes, sir.
The New Day versus the Usos was a fan match. It was brutal. It used all of the weapons they were allowed to use effectively. At times, it was uncomfortable to watch. At times, it was very uncomfortable to watch, especially when Big E and Xavier Woods were handcuffed, and they were just beating them with kendo sticks. I'm surprised the Usos regained the titles, because I thought the New Day moving forward from here were going to be your champions. The revelation that Gable and Benjamin are your new number one contenders, they are going to move away from New Day. It's surprising. It is surprising. But, it was a great match. Great match. The Usos and the New Day put on a hell of a show, and they finally found their rhythm as a tag team, as like competitors. So, you know what? Good shit. Owens versus Shane McMahon was the spectacle we all thought it would be. It was brutal. For the first 30 minutes, Kevin Owens literally beat the shit out of Shane McMahon. Shane had some spots, sure, but for 30 minutes, Kevin Owens proved he was the more dominant force. The pop-up powerbomb on the cage was just, I thought he was going to go through the cage. Through the cell. 100% thought he was going through. And they were working on that one segment of the cell, and you thought it was going to happen. You thought, and it didn't happen, and it felt like they had to go to plan B. I was nervous. It was a great match. It was a great spectacle. For 40 minutes, Owens and Shane went out there and put on a show. And then Sami Zayn, without taking a bump, kind of becomes the story. At the better part of 2-3 years building this moment of like Owens and Zayn finally reuniting. Oh my God. Shane was the right call. It was the only call you could have made. Shane coming as close as he did is kind of concerning, but it was a 2-match show. Other matches overperformed, but let's face it, there was a 2-match show, and on this 2-match show, both matches delivered. Great spectacle, and Usos New Day was a fan-fucking-tastic, brutal Hell in a Cell match. You don't always get 2 Hell in a Cell matches that deliver, but you did here. All involved. Shane and the New Day and the Usos. Kudos. Great shit.
Okay. So now, again, so that's Hell in a Cell. So, in the fallout from Hell, before we get to Raw, let's jump to the SmackDown stuff tonight because that falls in the line with Hell in a Cell. So tonight you had the fallout. You had an opening segment tonight with the tag teams, with the Usos and the New Day, which was an odd segment because the Usos kind of went back to being faces because they did the whole, well, we respect you, and and by the way, when did the Usos get so good on the mic?
When they stopped having to be faces.
Yeah, because they were really good in this segment. They even called out Mojo Rawley for being a bad NFL player. But I thought that was funny. But they did a good job in this segment. The interesting thing about this segment, I think, because obviously people go like, well, why didn't they go into the New Day? Because New Day are owed a rematch. I think because two members of the New Day are pretty banged up. So I think they might be trying to, you know what I mean, give them a few weeks to kind of, and I think that's why they ran the angle they did tonight with the multiple team match, and they had all the teams come out, and I knew it was going to be Gable and Benjamin before I even saw the match. I was hoping it was going to be the Fashion Files because, but and that was a good segment. There was a lot of, it was a good way to kind of get the focus on the tag teams to start the show. I thought it was a good segment. And I think Benjamin and Gable, that's a good choice for right now anyway. So that was good. Some of the women's, the women's match stuff was okay. I thought Charlotte legitimately elbowed Natalya in the face in that backstage segment, but maybe she did. I don't know. Mike's going to probably talk about the Owen Zane segment because I saw part of it. I didn't see all of it. I can imagine how good it was. And I mentioned the AJ Corbin stuff. So there was some big stuff tonight in the fallout, and we'll see where it goes. Obviously, they don't have a pay-per-view until Survivor Series. We'll see if they do any team matches or anything like that. But which I imagine they won't really set up until after Raw has their pay-per-view in another week. But from the looks of it, it was a good show. The start of the show with the tag teams was good. They were very smart to – their three best angles got focused. You had the tag teams out of the gate, Owens, Zayn, Shane in the middle, and then you had the main event, which is the U.S. title, but AJ. So they did it. I thought they did a good job structuring the show tonight. So it wasn't bad. It was good. Mike, you any thoughts on SmackDown?
I didn't see all of SmackDown. So the opening segment was good. The Usos, I think, are still heels, but they're kind of tweeners. They've kind of moved a little bit. They're welcome to affect their rivals, I guess you could say. But they shat on everybody, face or heel. Most of tweeners. Now, the Usos are still in the heel column, so don't get confused. The segment was good. Daniel Bryan coming out, kind of getting booed a little bit, but it was misdirection. Contenders is Gable and Shelton Benjamin. Not surprised. Was hoping it would be the Fashion Police. I certainly was hoping for Fashion Police. I guess WWE is not ready to take them seriously, I guess. Even though they're so fucking over and their segments are, in fact, the best. See the Styles and Corbin thing. I will see it later. But I know I'm trying to get my thoughts. AJ lost to Corbin. I mean, good for Corbin, I guess. I know Rusev and Shinsuke versus Rusev and Aiden English instead of Jinder Mahal versus Nakamura and Randy Orton was a thing. I'm assuming the faces won because I can't imagine them losing in this case after the last couple of days. But I think the main event, what everybody was waiting for, was Owens and Zayn and the explanation. I don't know if there were any backstage segments after this. I haven't seen it yet. This was one of the segments of the year, 2017, 100%. Owens he was ready to go up to heaven. And St. Peter said, Kevin, as much as we like you here, you are needed. And the crowd actively cheered for Kevin Owens, saying that St. Peter said he was needed on earth. Necessary. We're sending you a guardian angel and Sami Zayn. And Sami Zayn cut a promo that made so much sense, it hurt. They hugged, and they hugged twice, and they got the crowd to cheer for both of them. He was clearly enjoying himself so much in this segment. And Kevin Owens was enjoying himself. This segment was so money. So good. It was easily one of the best segments of the year, and on the week that the Shield reunites on Raw, and that's something people have wanted for years and years and years. It is, I think, equaled by the fact that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are best friends, nay, brothers once again.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing.
And do you know who's the real villain on all of this, Brian? The real villain in all of this?
Who?
Shane McMahon.
The nerve.
His bullshit. Oh, Shane was... These two, Shane could do no right. And you know what? I believe them. I believe them wholeheartedly. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are the heroes we deserve. Oh, such a good segment.
Oh boy, it was. I can't wait to watch the rest of it. I forgot to point something out too before we move on to Raw. You know, I don't. And again, in that tag team segment, Daniel Bryan came off a little heelish.
Well, he came off heelish because it's like after everything going on with Shane, I have to kind of like the stern GM. I have to kind of try to put down the revolution.
Right. Well, that's what I thought, but it was interesting that they didn't have him say something like, you know what, things are very, hectic and stressful right now, and I'm trying to maintain order. You know, I'm surprised they didn't have him preface because the crowd kind of seemed like they were shocked, and they started kind of chanting no. And I think he realized, like, maybe I should have said something else on top of it. Because he kind of seemed like he was taken aback, like, oh yeah, maybe that was a little too aggressive, And then he's like, well, I'm going to say something you're not going to like, but we're going to have a match. And I was like, what was there not to like about that? But whatever. It was that kind of struck me as a little weird, but all right.
But it worked. It worked.
It worked at the end.
Are we have to talk about Raw?
Yes, we're gonna do that. Well, I'm gonna be very brief about it. Obviously, Raw had really we talked about the Cruiserweight stuff already in regards to Neville, the change of plans. Obviously, Kalisto won the title, and that was a moment, especially since they tied it to Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio. They put it in the main event, which they set up at 9 o'clock. Hey, look, we all know they schedule around football, so it's not that shocking. The Shield stuff was obviously the big highlight. They did a good job there. They obviously had they had to go after Braun Strowman. That's been part of the story. And obviously they're going to put Braun in the match because they have nothing else for Braun to do. So they set all that up. They did a good job there. Miz, Braun Strowman. The stuff with the Mizzies at the beginning was really funny. And the crowd chanting, "You deserve it," at all of them was really awesome. The Shield stuff was good. The women's stuff, I thought they did a good job. I'm kind of happy it's Emma because I think it'll be Asuka. I think that'll be a good match. Although that backstage segment was very bad with Kurt Angle with the women. It was bad. But there was good movement there. Alexa Bliss and Mickey James did a good job with the promo, but the content kind of sucked. That wasn't bad. What was really bad and probably the worst part of the show. And again, it wasn't a bad Raw, but what was really bad last night was the Bray Wyatt Finn Balor thing. Now, look, the very idea of Bray Wyatt being Sister Abigail, which apparently we know is the angle now, which we thought last week, we were wondering who it was going to be. Well, I guess we know who it's going to be now. You could have maybe done like this weird possession angle thing and supernatural thing and made it work if you really committed to this and made it like, okay, it's still Bray Wyatt and it's just being controlled by somebody else. You didn't have to do the drag thing and the you know what I mean? You could have still done something cool. Instead, they seem to be embracing the idea he's going to dress like a woman, which is fine. Look, it's just the way that they're projecting this, okay? With the veil and the weird makeup and the voice, it's just not very, they're not doing a very good job of presenting it. And it wouldn't have been my first choice, but you could have made something work out of it if you really took it seriously. Instead, it looked like they're making him it's almost like he made somebody mad and they're making him a joke. Finn Balor was rolling his eyes during the segment. Bray was talking about kissing him, which, okay, great. I don't have a problem with men kissing each other. That's great. But just the way that they're presenting it was just weird. And it just wasn't something that worked for the angle. And I don't know. I think they're doing God, that feud needs to go. That feud needs to go, and it's not going to. It's never going to. That feud is never going to die. They're bringing things into it and presenting things that don't really need to be in it. And Bray Wyatt, I mean, they're not even like you could have. I mean, the idea of the possession angle really would have worked really well. You could have had him possessed by Sister Abigail, still been Bray Wyatt, made a couple alterations, and not made it so cheesy. But they did, and it was the worst part of the night. So yeah, SmackDown beat Raw this week, but it wasn't bad. Mike?
Oh my God. I guess I put out of my mind that whole Sister Abigail nonsense for a good reason. For a good reason. Yeah. I will say that reason is, holy shit, it was bad. We're going with Bray Wyatt with face paint and a veil.
And that voice.
Sister Abigail is essentially Bray Wyatt with face paint, a veil, and a shitty voice changer. Stupid voice modulator, really? Done something great. We could have made it NXT female Sister Abigail and made it important. Instead of hinting at she's real, and now we get Bray Wyatt with face paint. That's super intimidating. Finn Balor looked like he was confused. They wanted him, I guess, to be like, all right, Finn Balor, act scared. Right, if it's interesting, I will totally act scared out there. I will try my best. Finn Balor looked confused, annoyed, and the camera did catch him rolling his eyes, saying, "What the hell is this?" He couldn't even act scared. It's like, this is a load of bollocks. Finn Balor came. He was not amused.
No.
I mean, he couldn't even say, it was like, in the interview after that, he's like, "Oh, that was something, wasn't it?" He couldn't even say, he's like, "Yeah, that was surprising. That was surprising, Kathy Kelly," or whatever, or Charlie Caruso. He had to fade like he was shocked. Whatever. It's like, who can take Bray Wyatt seriously right now? We're literally, like, it's October. We are 8 months removed from the fact this man, Bray Wyatt, was WWE champion. He was the champion. And now it's like, we can't even take him seriously. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? What the hell are you doing? I didn't see the Mizzies yet, but I'm going to get to it eventually. The Miz getting triple powerbomb was cool. The fact that Kalisto won the title was important and essential. It was something that had to happen for the Cruiserweight division. Had to happen. It was a good moment. It was, again, as we said, 10 years since Eddie Guerrero. We lost Eddie Guerrero. One of the greatest all-around performers of all time. Hella charismatic. It's been a long time. Kalisto, and I've said this on the show so many times, it hurts. Kalisto's a guy they should be pushing. Kalisto's a guy who should be a major star because he does tap into that Latin market. He is a luchador. He has a very, very exciting style. and he's got a natural like in-ring charisma. He's interesting to watch. He's as good of a promo guy as Rey Mysterio. And we both know Rey Mysterio was not the best promo guy. He really wasn't. But Kalisto's fine. Kalisto's there. Kalisto could be one of your top stars right now if you gave a shit. Right now, I think Kalisto could be the face of this division. Treat Kalisto seriously. If you kind of give him that Neville push, I think Kalisto could do great things for you. Could definitely move some masks. Especially since the luchador style is an interesting style to watch, especially in contrast to everything else we see in WWE. Kalisto went out there and, God bless him, got a serviceable match out of Enzo Amore, which is more than we could say for most of the roster. Neville got one out of him. Kalisto got one out of him. That's as much as you can ask for from these 205 guys. They deserve better. And that being said, Kalisto getting the title was the right move. I love the fact that they highlighted Mustafa Ali, who's a young guy who's very exciting. He's got an exciting moveset. He's getting there. You can see he's getting there. Mustafa Ali is a guy that should be one of the focal points of this division in like a year, if they keep him. So, and I'm glad he was such a big impact on this match. I feel like Enzo versus Ali, Mustafa Ali, more for Mustafa Ali than Enzo. But then again, at this point, do you really want to do anything for Enzo? It was the story of Raw. Real quick, the Mickie James promo was great. Yes, I mean, look, if we never, and Alexa Bliss is fantastic. Can we admit that Alexa Bliss is just overall a fantastic wrestler, fantastic personality, fantastic on-screen personality? We're giving her these like throwback, this is your life segments. Let's never do that again. Even the old-timey Mickie James thing was dumb as shit. We don't need to go back there. We don't need a reminder of it. Alexa Bliss is good. We don't need her to try to save this segment. If she just came out and had a great promo battle with Mickie James, which was essentially what it ended up being. Yes, it's a placeholder feud. Could Mickie win? Maybe. Maybe. And that's fine. These two women could have an excellent match, an excellent feud. Just let them go and don't put this old-timey, this is your life, ha ha ha, Mickie James is old shit there. We know Mickie James is older than some of the other wrestlers on the roster, but Mickie James could still go. James looks great. In the ring. Period. End of discussion. Field was the big story. It looked like Braun Strowman was like an equal match for all three of them.
Yeah.
Kind of funny. Which is kind of funny. Like, Roman had to go right to the spear or else Braun Strowman was going to fuck all three of them up. But Braun Strowman's added to that match. We all know he's not taking the pin because he's Braun Strowman. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
The Shield, it's exciting to have them back. It's a long time coming. I'm waiting to see if next week we go real like full Shield, like the Riot shit, the Riot gear, black jacket. They all have the dark black pants, boots. I'm waiting to see if we go full Shield next week. That would be a thing to watch.
A part of me thinks they're going to wait to the pay-per-view for that.
Probably. And you know what? It's probably for the best.
One of the...
But other than that, Raw was the Bray Wyatt thing shitting the bed.
Yeah. One of the things that I actually think they're going to do, because, you know, with Survivor Series right around the corner, I mean, and I don't think they're just going to reunite the Shield for this one match. I think this is going to be a thing throughout the rest of the year. One of the things I think they're going to do is I think you're going to see the 3 Shield members on whatever Survivor Series team that they, you know what I mean? So I think you're going to see this. Yeah, this is going to continue. This is not just going to be, and I think one of the things you're going to see too is that Braun Strowman will probably be on whatever. I think maybe that's why they're doing this too, is to kind of move those Shield guys past Braun Strowman. Like, okay, they get in a match with Braun Strowman, they get some kind of measure of revenge about Braun Strowman being pinned. And then if they have to put Braun Strowman on the Survivor Series team, they can move on from that, knowing that they kind of move beyond the feud. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of what they're trying to do. But we'll see. That stuff will start to materialize after TLC, no doubt. All right, so that's the W. Obviously, we'll, as we go along over the next week or so, if there's any news on the Neville situation, we will talk about it, whether it's on Thursday or next week when we do wrestling stuff or whatever. We'll do a TLC preview next week. And as I said in the beginning of the show.
TLC?
What? TLC is a week from Sunday.
Holy shit.
I told you they were doing 3 pay-per-views in like what was it, like 6 weeks or 7 weeks or 8 weeks, something like that. I don't know. They're doing like 3 pay-per-views very close together. And then you got a month difference.
Yeah.
And then you got a month before Survivor Series. Well, what they did was they did this so that they didn't have to have 2 pay-per-views in December.
Yeah. That's
why they did it. I mean, I think it was probably smart for the network situation. I think it was probably smart too, because we all know that especially that second pay-per-view in December, they're losing a ton of money on. So probably smart to do it the way they're doing it, but whatever. But we'll do a TLC preview next week. So interesting that people in the email box think my nose looks crooked, which I keep kind of playing with because I'm like, my nose looks crooked, really? Weird. Anyway, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, this is our 7th anniversary. Today, I think it's actually the day. I think it's today. Jeff Tech was always good about these. He always remembered the actual day. It was the 10th or the 12th. I knew it was the 10th or the 12th. But anyway, 7th anniversary. I mean, you celebrate the big milestones. And when we were doing the first 5 years of the show, we celebrated like every time we reached like 200 episodes. We kind of fell out of that because it got kind of obnoxious to do it. And we've done a lot of different things over the years to celebrate different things. And every year we have an anniversary. We kind of do the same general thing. Because and I was talking to some people off the air about this, and they said, what can you do for an anniversary? You can only go to the well of like, let's remember memorable moments. Let's remember this. Let's rehash this so many times. You can only do that so many times, which is why doing it every year, it kind of, ruins it a little bit because, you like to save those big momentous things for the big years, like the 10 years and the whatever. So when I was thinking about what we were going to do, and I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. We didn't make a big deal out of it last year. And like I said, we're going to do a little bit tonight. We're going to do a little bit on Thursday. The only little bit we're going to do tonight is me kind of setting up what we're going to do on Thursday. And that is this. I didn't want to do tell me about your favorite memories of the show. Let's just rehash it. I didn't want to do that. Instead, I wanted to do something that we've done a couple times before. And which is kind of like this open forum, open discussion thing where you, the audience, comes up with things to talk about for us to kind of do, all I ask is that you keep it in the form of like what we usually do on the show: sports, wrestling, TV, film, that kind of thing. That's the only kind of thing. Oh, and of course, keep it classy and don't be like, asking about bad things or anything like that. But that's the only restrictions. And basically what we're going to do is allow you all, I like to call this, like, I haven't called it this before, but I'm going to call it now, a fantasy segment, where it's kind of like your fantasy discussion. I know it sounds kind of weird, but like you get to decide what we talk about in a segment, the topics, the questions, that kind of thing. So that's what we're going to do on Thursday as a gift to our fans. Now, what we're going to do that's different than in the past is this, okay? Normally we would be like, when we do these kind of like free form discussion, they'd be focused on one thing or the other. Maybe just sports, maybe just wrestling, maybe just entertainment. That's not what's going to happen on Thursday. It's going to be completely open to any of that. So it's going to be a mixture of all of it in one. So, it's kind of like the wrestling Q&A where you might ask a random question about something in particular, and we answer it and we do a discussion about it. And how much of that we do will be dictated by time. It'll be dictated by how much time we have and how much we want to go. So basically, it's like our gift to you all, because I know that there's always things that you people, a lot of you out there, maybe want us to discuss, and maybe you don't submit in because you don't think it's going to fit what we're going to be doing, or maybe there's things that you send in that we just don't get to, or whatever. This is your chance to kind of get something in, have your voice heard about things that maybe don't fit, won't fit into the big stories of that day, or something more random that maybe you just never wanted to ask about because you didn't feel comfortable, or you didn't think it was right to do it, or you just thought that there was no chance in hell that we were going to talk about it. That's what Thursday, the second half of Thursday's show will be for. So, you could ask about, even ask about things that we might have talked about before that you want a little bit more elaboration on from us, or maybe you want a little more of a discussion for us. One of the reasons why I thought this was a good idea is because it kind of sets up where we're going to go as a show. And we'll talk more about this on Thursday as well. I said this before and I'll say it again. I'm going to conclude with this because it's already 11:30. We've done a lot of variations over the years, and compared to where we started, we're still generally the same show, but we've fallen into a couple of things that we've fallen kind of into a couple of traps that really, I think, can become draining and really can kind of hinder momentum a little bit. And we're going to try to veer from those and go back to basics a little bit and go back to dialogue and making it more, we kind of got away, and I think Mike would agree with me. Thankfully, we got away from reading things on the air. First couple of years, people seem to love that garbage, and I never got it. And then eventually, thankfully, people stopped kind of like, we kind of stopped doing it. People just naturally forgot about it. But, we gotten away from that. And one of the things I want to get away from is recapping. Now, obviously, we talk sports. We talk wrestling, so sometimes you're going to kind of set the stage by mentioning what might have transpired. But that doesn't mean that you go on a 20-minute, well, this is what happened, this team won, this team. We want to start going into more of discussion-based stuff and bringing the occurrences into the discussion and trusting our audience more to have seen what happened. And that's what we're going to start doing, because it's going to save us a lot of time. We only do this show twice a week. Now, that's going to be changing a little bit too. For me, it will be changing, not necessarily for Mike, but for me, it will be changing. And we'll get into that more too. But, it's going to save us some time to get into some things and actually have discussions, because you know what? I get all, and it's become part of Mike's thing. I get it all the time though. It's kind of hard for people. I mean, the audience is there, but to get more people involved, whether it's Mike, whether it's Justin, whether it's whoever is on the show, it's hard to get people involved, and it's hard to have a good discussion if we don't have the time to do it. And it's hard to do that when we have to spend a lot of our time and don't really trust the audience, so we kind of feel like we should spend the time recapping things and going into things that really, I think most people that probably tune in probably know about already. So this whole thing that we're going to do to celebrate the anniversary on Thursday, I think will be a nice little precursor to the way that we're going to do things from now on. So we'll do that on Thursday. That'll be part of our anniversary. So submit your questions, comments, your topics, all that good stuff. Submit it between now and Thursday. You could also submit it during the show on Thursday, where I might pick up a few as we go along. And then we'll do that. That'll be the second half of the show. On top of the fact, we'll do our usual stuff like box office beat, TV highlights. We'll continue our fall TV report card series. We'll do all that on Thursday, and along with discussing what's coming up on the show, and again, the anniversary segment that I just mentioned we're going to do. So that'll be our show on Thursday. And again, just make your submissions, and we'll see if you get picked. But But yeah, that's the way it's going to go on Thursday, and we'll get into everything, go into detail. I think it'll be a nice kind of setup for where we're going. So that's why I thought it worked as a good idea for the anniversary and whatnot. So I was kind of deceiving in the show description because I made it sound like we were going to start the celebration tonight. We're kind of waiting till Thursday, but you know what? I wanted to kind of set the stage for it, so that's why I meant by part one. So, all right, so that's the way things are going to go. So with that being said, we are done for tonight. As always, the show might be over. It's not mean you have to stop interacting and contributing to our show. Continue to have your voice heard by email, by sending us your feedback. We need it. We want it. Keep sending it, please. It's very helpful. Topic ideas or breaking news items related to sports, entertainment, wrestling they want us to cover. Questions about the show and the scheduling of the show, reactions, comments, opinions, things we talked about on the show, things we said, any of these things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Please remember to use the hashtag itspotlight411 for anything you tweet regarding our show. And of course, you can find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, then make sure you like our page once you're on it, once you find it. We encourage you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest information about the show, especially when it comes to scheduling. Obviously, last-minute postponements and delays could happen. The best way for us to reach you all is on social media, so make sure you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to make sure that you get all the latest information about the show, along with any other random thoughts and musings that we happen to post. You have access to all that and more. Just search for us on Facebook and Twitter and follow us, and you'll be able to access all that more. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook and Twitter. You have two ways to keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes. You can either stream us anytime on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on both those sites. And once you do, you'll be taken to our show page on both sites. We will find every episode. You'll be able to stream any episode that we've done in the last 2 years. So everything from mid-October 2015 all the way up to tonight's episode. That's all of our Google Plus and YouTube episodes. They're all available for you to stream anytime you want. So if you're interested in that, search for In the Spotlight 411 on Google Plus and YouTube, and you'll be able to stream those episodes. If streaming's not your thing, you don't like to see us on screen, maybe you're interested in older episodes of the show. If any of that applies to you, make sure you go to our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes, search for In the Spotlight 411. And once you do, you'll be taken to our show pages on both sites. You have access to every episode we've done in the 7 years we've been doing this show. That's every episode for our original Blog Talk Radio run from October 2010 to January 2011. Everything for our Talk Show run from January 2011 all the way up to mid-October 2015. And of course, all of our Google Plus and YouTube episodes, everything from mid-October 2015 all the way up to tonight's episode, current episode. All episodes available in audio format for your convenience. Even the episodes that stream on Google Plus, YouTube are transferred to audio format for your convenience on there. Every episode we've ever done in order from the most recent to the oldest, available for you to listen to on the go and listen to anytime you want. On Podbean and iTunes. Maybe you're a long-time fan, want to check out an episode from 4 or 5 years ago. A new fan wants to check out an episode like that for the first time. Maybe you want to keep up on current episodes, listen to an episode again. If any of that applies to you, check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes, to search for In the Spotlight 411. So Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, always to keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes. Again, Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, always keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes. To search for In the Spotlight 411. Again, to search for In the Spotlight 411, and you'll be able to do all that and more. I want to thank Mike for being here tonight. Thank you, Mike.
I missed off what you were going to say. I imagine you're going to tell me later. Eminem at the BET Awards caused a major commotion with this amazing a cappella verse he dropped, where he pretty much tore that orange piece of garbage a new one. It was impressive. It was classic Eminem.
Wow.
On a night where Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn together as brothers, and the most historical thing that WWE has done this week, including the Shield, Eminem just does amazing work. But other than that, I gotta go to sleep. It's time for bed.
Of course, I thank myself for a great show. Pat myself on the back, and thank all of you for your continued support and contribution to the show. Thank you so much for watching. Those that will be watching and listening to this later, thank you to you as well. I got through it. I have not felt good. I am sweating. I do not. Again, I don't know. I came very close to canceling tonight, but I didn't. Powered through. So kudos to me. Extra kudos to me. I'll give myself another pat back for doing that. As my voice is trailing off. So I got through it. I thought it'd trail off more than this, to be honest, but it didn't. Especially when I ranted already about baseball. But All right, so that's it. Again, Thursday will be our anniversary celebration, our fantasy discussion segment. Submit your questions, your topics, your comments, any of those things related to sports, entertainment, wrestling that you want us to talk about, cover, any of those things. Submit them either before the show or during the show. On Thursday, email, Facebook, and Twitter. That'll be our anniversary part of our anniversary celebration. We'll also discuss the changes coming to the show. All that will be on Thursday, along with our continued fall TV report card series, TV highlights, and box office beat. That will be Thursday's program. Make sure that you tune in for that. So with that being said, that is it. I hope you all have a great rest of your night, a great Wednesday, and a great Thursday. We'll see you back here for our next show this coming Thursday night, October the 12th at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, have a good night, everybody.